Alright,
Time again.
I was actually trying to say something. And then, I inhaled some dust. Thomas, we're gonna read a story. God damn.
You okay?
I actually need to go get water now. Oh my god. Dude, I'll be right back.
I don't wanna jinx it, baby. And twist myself at the spine.
Today's story is Donkey Cabbages. There was once a young huntsman who went into the forest to lie in wait. He had a fresh and joyous heart as he was going whistling upon a leaf. An ugly old crone came up, who spoke to him and said, "Good day." Whistling upon a leaf, an ugly old crone came up to him and spoke and said, "Good day, dear huntsman. Truly you are merry and content. But I am suffering from hunger and thirst. Do give me any alms." The huntsman had compassion, and the poor old creature felt in his pockets, and he gave him whatever he could afford. He was then about to go further, but the old woman stopped him and said, "Listen, dear huntsman, to what I tell you. I will make you a present in return for your kindness. Go on your way now, but in a little while you will come up to a tree whereon 9 birds are sitting, which have a cloak in their claws, and are plucking at it. Take your gun and shoot into the midst of them. They will let the cloth fall down onto you. But one of the birds will be hurt and will drop down dead. Carry away the cloak. It is a wishing cloak. When you throw it over your shoulders, you only have to wish to be in a certain place, and you will be there in the twinkling of an eye. Take out the heart of the dead bird and swallow it whole.
Whoa.
And every morning early when you get up, and will find a gold piece under your pillow." The huntsman thanked the wise woman and thought to himself, "Those are fine things that she has promised me, if all this does come true." And verily, when he had walked about 100 paces, he heard the branches above him such a screaming and twittering that he looked up and saw there was gotta flip the page, crow. A crowd of birds who were tearing a piece of cloth about with their beaks and claws, and tugging and fighting as if each wanted to have it to himself. "Well," said the huntsman, "this is wonderful. It has really come to pass, just as the old woman foretold." And he took the gun from his shoulder, aimed and fired right into the midst of them, so that the feathers flew about. The birds instantly took to flight in loud outcries, but one dropped down dead, and the cloak fell at the same time. Then the huntsman did as the old woman directed him, cut open the bird and sought the heart, swallowed it down, and took the cloak home with him. Next morning, when he woke, the promise occurred to him, and he wished to see if it also had been fulfilled. When he lifted the pillow, a gold piece shone in his eye, and the next day he found another, and so it went on. Every time he got up, he gathered together a heap of gold, but at least he thought, "Of what use is all of this gold to me if I stay at home? I will go forth and see the world." He then took leave of his parents, buckled on his huntsman's pouch and gun, and went out into the world. It came to pass that one day he traveled through a dense forest, and when he came to the end of it, in the plain before him stood a fine castle. An old woman was standing with a wonderful, beautiful maiden looking out to one of the windows. The old woman, however, was a witch, and said to the maiden, "There comes one out of the forest who has a beautiful treasure in his body. He must filch it from him. My dear daughter, it is more suitable for us than for him. He has a bird's heart about him, by means of which a gold piece lies every morning under his pillow. She told her what she has to do to get it, and part he had to play, and finally threatened her and said with angry eyes, "And if you do not attend to what I say, it will be the worst for you." And when the huntsman came nearer, he described the maiden and said to himself, "I have traveled about for such a long time, I will take a rest for once and enter the beautiful castle. I certainly have enough money." Nevertheless, the real reason was that he had caught sight of the pretty little bitch. He entered the house and was all received and courteous and entertained. Before long, he was so much in love with the young witch that he no longer thought anything else and only saw things as she saw them, and did what she desired. The old woman then said, "Now we must have the bird's heart. He will never miss it." She prepared a drink when it was ready, poured it into a cup, and gave it to the maiden, who was to present it to the huntsman. She did not say so. She did so, saying, "Now, my dearest, drink to me." So he took the cup, and when he swallowed the draught, he brought up the heart of the bird. The girl had to take it away secretly, swallowing it herself. Swallowing it herself, for the old woman would have it so. Thenceforth, he found no more gold under his pillow, but it lay instead under that of the maidens, from whence the old woman fetched it away every morning. But he was so much in love and so befooled that he thought nothing else but a passing of his time with the girl. Then the old witch said, "We have the bird's heart, but we must also take the wishing cloak away from him." The girl answered, "We will leave him that. He has lost his wealth." The woman was angry and said, "Such a mantle and wonderful thing and is single to be found in this world. I must have it." She gave the girl several blows. Fuck. Hey, let me rephrase that sentence. She beat the absolute fucking goofy out of this bitch. She gave the girl several blows and said that if she did not obey, it should be fair out with her. So she did the old woman's bidding and placed himself at the window and looked at the distant country as if she were very sorrowful. Gotta flip the page, but the page is sticking together. The huntsman asked, "Why dost thou stand there so sorrowful?" "Oh, my beloved," she answered, "God, over yonder lies a garnet mountain where the precious stones grow. I long for them so much that when I think of them, I feel quite sad, but who can get them? Only the birds, they fly and can reach them, but a man never. Have you nothing else to complain of?" said the huntsman. "I will soon remove that burden from your heart and get a little bit of that puss." With that, he drew her under his mantle, wished himself onto the garnet mountain, and on the twinkling of an eye, they were sitting on it together. Precious stones were glistening on every side, so that it was a joy to see them. And together they gathered the finest costlies of them. Now the old woman gathered the finest. I read the same word. God damn it. Now the old woman had, through her sorcery, contrived that the eyes of the huntsman should become heavy. He said to the maiden, "We will sit down and rest a while. I am so tired that I can no longer stand on my feet." Then they sat down, and he laid his head in her lap and fell asleep. When he was asleep, she unfastened the mantle from his shoulders, and wrapped herself in it, and picked up the garnets and stones, and wished herself back home with them. But when the huntsman had his sleep out and awoke, and perceived that his sweetheart had betrayed him and left him alone in the wilds and the mountains, and he said, "Oh, that treated white bitch!" "Oh, that treachery there is in the world," and sat down there in care and sorrow, not knowing what to do. The mountain belonged to some wild and monstrous giants who dwelt thereon and lived their lives there, and he had not sat long before he sees the three of them, and coming towards him, he lay down as if he was sunk into the deep sleep. Then the giants came up and first kicked him with his foot and said, "What sort of unearthly worm is lying curled up here?" The second said, "Step upon him and kill that motherfucker." But the third said, "That would indeed be worth your while. Just let him live. He cannot remain here, and when he climbs higher towards the summit of the mountain, the clouds will lay a hold of him and bear him away." So saying, they bypass. But the huntsman had paid heed to their words, and as soon as they were gone, he rose and climbed up to the summit of the mountain. And when he had sat there a while, a cloud floated towards him, caught him up, and carried him away, and traveled about for a long time in the heavens. Then it sank lower, and it let itself down on a great cabbage garden, girt around by walls, so that he came softly to the ground on the cabbages, beige, and the vegetables. And then the huntsman looked out himself, and fuck! And then the fucking God put it in my ass. Then the huntsman looked about him and said, "If I only had something to eat. I'm so hungry, and my hunger will increase in course of time. But I see there's nothing, neither apples nor pears nor any other sort of fruit. Everywhere nothing but cabbages." At length he thought, "At a pinch, I can eat some of the leaves. They do not taste particularly good, but they will refresh me." With that he picked himself out a fine head of cabbage and ate it. But scarcely had he swallowed a couple of mouthfuls, and he felt very strange and quite different. 4 legs grew on him, a large head and 2 thick ears, and then I see he's turning into the donkey cabbage person. 4 legs grew on him with a large head and 2 thick ears, and he saw with horror that there he is changing into an ass. Still, as his hunger increased every minute, as the juicy leaves was suitable and his presence nature, he went on eating with great zest. At last he arrived at a different kind of cabbage, but as soon as he had swallowed it, he again felt a change, and resumed his former human shape. Then the huntsman laid down and slept off his fatigue. When he awoke the next morning, he broke off one head of the bad cabbage, and the other one good, and thought to himself, "This shall help me to get my own again, and to punish who? I gotta flip the page. To punish treachery." Then he took the cabbages with him, climbed over the wall, and went forth to seek the castle of his sweetheart. After wandering about for a couple of days, he thought lucky enough to find it again. He dyed his face brown so that his own mother would not have known him, and begged for shelter. "I'm so tired," said he, "that I can go no further." The witch asked, "Who are you, countryman, and what is your business?" "I am a king's messenger, and was sent out to seek the most delicious salad which grows beneath the sun. I have even been so fortunate as to find it, and I am carrying it about with me. But the heat of the sun is so intense that the delicate cabbage threatens the wither, and I do not know if I can carry it any further. When the old woman heard of the exquisite salad, she was greedy and said, "Dear countryman, let's just taste this wonderful salad." "Why not?" answered he. "I have brought 2 heads with me, and will give you one of them." And he opened his pouch and handed her a bad cabbage. The cabbage is gone bad. The witch suspected nothing amiss, and her mouth watered so for this new dish that she herself went into the kitchen and dressed it. When it was prepared, she could not wait until it was set on the table, but took a couple of leaves at once and put them in her mouth. But hardly had she swallowed them than she was deprived of her human shape, and she ran into the courtyard in the form of an ass. Presently, the maid servant entered the kitchen, saw the salad standing there, ready prepared, and was about to carry it up. But on the way, according to habit, she was seized by the desire to taste it, and she ate a couple of leaves. Instantly, the magic power showed itself, and she likewise became an ass, and ran out of the old town. Woman and the dish and of the salad fell onto the ground. Meantime, the messenger sat beside the beautiful girl, and as no one came with the salad, she was also longing for it. She said, "I don't know what has become of the salad." The huntsman thought the salad must have already taken effect, and said, "I will go to the kitchen and acquire it." As he went down, he saw the 2 asses running about in the courtyard. The salad, however, was lying on the ground. "All right," said he, "the 2 have taken their portion." And he had picked up the other leaves and laid them on the dish and carried them to the maiden. "I bring you the delicate food myself," said he, "in order that you may not have to wait longer." When she ate of it, she was, like the others, immediately deprived of her human form, and ran out into the courtyard into the shape of an ass. After the huntsman had washed his face so that the transformed ones could recognize him, he went down into the courtyard and said, "Now shall receive the wages of your treachery," and bound them together, all 3 with one rope, and drove them along until he came to a mill. He knocked on the window, and the miller put out his hand and asked what he wanted. "I have 3 unmanageable beasts," answered he, "which I don't have time to keep no longer. I will take them in and give them food and stable room, and manage them, I tell you, and then I will pay you what you asked." The miller said, "Why not? How am I to manage them?" The huntsman then said that he was going to give 3 beatings and 1 meal a day to the old donkey, and that was the witch. 1 beating and 3 meals to the younger one, which was the servant girl, and to the youngest. Which was the maiden, no beatings and 3 meals, for he could not bring himself to have the maiden beaten. After that, he went back into this castle and found therein everything he needed. After a couple of days, the miller came and said he must inform him that the old ass, which had received 3 beatings and only 1 meal a day, was fucking dead. The 2 others, he continued, and are certainly not dead, and are fed 3 times daily, but they are so sad that they cannot last much longer. The huntsman has moved to pity, and put down his anger, and told the miller to drive them back again to him. And when they came, he gave them some of the good salad, so that they became human again. The beautiful girl fell on her knees before him, and said, "Ah, my beloved, forgive me for the evil that I have done unto you. My mother drove me to it. It was done against my will, for I loved you dearly. Your wishing cloak hangs in the cupboard, and for the bird's heart I will take a vomiting potion." But the thought otherwise, and said, "Keep it. It is all the same, for I will take you for my true wife." So the wedding was celebrated, and they lived happily together until their death. Now, the end.
Well, at least that old ass is gone.
Yeah, that old ass bitch. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
just the old ass.
The old ass is gone.